My investment thesis is highly based around finding sectors which are completely hated, which are basically being ripped apart and maybe even near bankruptcy. And that's mainly because I want to make a exceptional amount of gains, and just investing in any odd ETF that's going to increase by a few percentage per year. Yeah, of course, over the long run, it may be very good, but I'm really trying to be rich within a few years rather than a few decades. So this investment thesis is a little different from all of the other investment theses I've been covering in my channel, which are heavily commodity based. If you ask yourself which sector is the most hated currently, you will probably say cryptos. Now, cryptos in a whole is a whole different conversation, but today we're going to look at the daddy of cryptos, which of course is Bitcoin. And we're going to take it a step further. Even though Bitcoin has declined over 70%, that really isn't good enough for us. We really want to be looking into the abyss, into the assets that have declined by 90%. And that brings me on to this video, in which we will cover the thesis for investing in Bitcoin mining companies. So why not just go with Bitcoin? Because clearly the Bitcoin mining companies have inherent flaws that are not applicable to Bitcoin itself, such as operational risk, management risk, and just the day-to-day activities of running a business and projecting earnings and keeping shareholders happy, dilution. But the main reason is that this is a extremely leveraged play on Bitcoin itself. If you have a positive outlook on Bitcoin, then you will be handsomely rewarded by getting into these mining companies. To illustrate this point, you can see on the chart above in TradingView, we have basically the Bitcoin overlaid with one of the mining companies, which is Riot. Now let's just remove Riot for a second so we can concentrate on Bitcoin. Now let's imagine we miraculously got Riot in the bottom in this hypothetical situation, and we held and sold at the perfect time, which would give us a percentage gain of around 1,400, which is basically a 14x. So let's say we invested 10,000, and that 10,000 will be worth around 140, 150, including your initial investment. Great gains, no doubt. But now let's just take a look at actually what Riot did in that time. So we're going to take the exact same point as before, which was the March low. And let's see the March low here. So what would we be seeing if we hypothetically got in right at the bottom and then sold right at the top? So what is that? That is a 100x. That is a 10,000% gain in our stock value. That means our 10,000 we invested would actually be worth 1 million right now if we held on. And that all in the space of less than a year. Now, these were crazy high valuations. Everything was probably just going crazy. And you'll notice Bitcoin actually didn't even reach its peak. But let's just say this was an anomaly and it probably, whatever. But Bitcoin hit its peak around here, which was like the 68K level. So let's say what was Riot trading at the peak of Bitcoin? It was still 6,000% increase. That's compared to the 1,500% that you would be getting from Bitcoin alone. So the difference there is an extra 3,000% increase in your stock value. So the discrepancy between the performance of Bitcoin and Riot is quite substantial, and for me that is worth taking the additional risk required to hold these mining companies as opposed to Bitcoin itself. Life is a game of balance, the yin and yang. So just as these Bitcoin mining companies are very explosive to the upside, they are very explosive to the downside, as we can see in the following chart. We see Bitcoin declined around 57%, but the mining companies were declining 70, 80, and even 90%. these mining companies are highly leveraged to Bitcoin on the upside, but also on the downside. Two companies that we'll look in much further details in the next videos is, of course, Riot blockchain, which is down around 94%. And the second one that we have on the horizon is Hive technology. I think it's technology, which is around 92%. So these companies have had a pretty horrid time, along with the shareholders that have been hodling these stocks since the highs. But we're not in the highs. Is this the bottom? I have no idea. It could go lower. But it's already declined enough for me to be interested. So I am very interested in this sector and the potential gains it could bring. Full disclosure, I do not have a position in any of these companies. I'm still doing my due diligence, as you should be as well. But this investment thesis is basically based around your outlook for Bitcoin. Where do you see Bitcoin doing? Do you expect it to at least reach its previous all-time high? If you do, then you will be paid off handsomely with these stocks. I personally believe that there is a future for Bitcoin. Just the anti-government side of it is already so appealing. And yeah, I do feel like we will see another cycle for Bitcoin. You know, you could say if it happened once or if it happened twice, but this Bitcoin cycle has been around for like over 10 years now. So if it was really a fade, I think it would already faded out. But I think there is definitely some real use cases for Bitcoin. And I think eventually, I know we've never seen it in this economic turmoil, how Bitcoin will react. I'm very interested to see how it does, but I will be definitely looking into these stocks. Yeah, I might be back holding them for a while, but that's okay. I'm not going to invest any money I'm not completely willing to lose or sit on for a long time. So next videos we're going to cover specifically Riot and Hive.